Hey guys, welcome to your YouTube channel Web Tutorials. I hope you have subscribed, and today we are going to learn CSS by playing CSS Battle. CSS Battle is a site where you have unique problems, and today we are going to deal with 12 of them. And we'll see, we'll in the process of doing so, we'll also learn and understand how CSS works and how do you achieve these different styles in CSS. How can you do so? So let's start our video, and don't forget to share with your friends and hit that like button, and let's go. Yeah, this is a website called cssbattle.dev. We are in the first battle, that is pilot battle, where you have 12 unique problems. So we will be solving them, and in the meanwhile we'll also learn the process of CSS. Okay, so let's start from here. So basically, how this site works is like where you have to compete with all the programmers to achieve this result with the least amount of code. But we are not going to do the least amount of code. We are going to have descriptive code, which is essential for you as an developer. So we'll write code according to what should be the development style, and not like what programmers can achieve to get the high score. So ultimately our aim will be to get 100% same as the image on the right, and not the high score, and not the not the shortest coding available. Okay, so let's start. So by default we are given a div container which is height and width of like 100 pixel, and you have this background color. So ultimately you also have they have given the reference color over here, so you can just click and use those reference color. So first thing we see in here is like there is a padding, there is a margin above the div. So the best way to, as we already discussed, this is a user generated style sheet issue, so you can reinitiate that to 0. So now if you see, the margin is 0. So currently what I'm going to do is like let me convert all the colors of all the elements including the div element if there is no given background. So let me convert all the background to be the background color which is given here. So all the elements are in this particular color, which is including the div. Div is also in this same color. We are not able to see that, but if we give a border just for your reference, 1 pixel solid white, so you will come to know that this div is also here, but it has the background color same as the brown, because we have given the background to be the same. So by visualizing on the right hand side, we see that this is a square box, and it is up roughly 50% of the width of the box. So they have given the dimensions here to be 400 by 300. So by that we know like this is a 200 pixel by 200 pixel box. So if we change the width and the height to 200 pixel by 200 pixel, this should be the exact same result of the box. But we don't want the border. Let's put in the background for it. Let's put the background color which is given over here, and this is like, let's submit it and see. This should be 100% match. Yeah, so cancel. So we have 100% match with 151 characters. There are many different ways in which you can reduce a character by removing the white spaces, and by changing the div element, which is also a block level element, to p element, which should also work the same. Say for example, if I change this to p, because both are like block level elements, it shouldn't make any difference. So even the p tag will also work fine. Then there are a lot of other ways by which you can reduce the code, but our intention is not to reduce the code, but to be descriptive and understand this easily. So the best way of writing it would be like, instead of changing everything, you can change the body, and then you can give the body background color, and there is no margin for the body, which was the default margin. And then you can have like p tag or you can actually give it an ID of a box. And you can reference that ID, a box, square box. Yeah. So basically this is the right way to do it. If you have multiple P elements with the same style, instead of an ID you can give a class, and you can refer that with, if you are mentioning as a class, you need to put dot box, and here you can have the class. So it all means the same. So we were referencing the element by the element name, but this would be more accurate, and this would be the perfect way of writing the CSS. Submit. This should give again the same match, but we have increased the character, so your score will go down. Okay, so here we end our first challenge, which is just a square box. In second challenge, let's see how we can achieve this particular output. So again, in here, the first thing we need to do is, like, we can select the background. We can rechange the background to be the color that is given over here. And then we need 4 of these boxes. So instead of having one box, so you can have 4 box. 4 box. I think this, if you see this, the height, it is like 300 pixel. If you divide by 2, which is roughly at this particular, why is it not coming from here? So basically from 50%, I think this should be 150 50 pixel by 50 pixel wide. Let's check that out. 50 pixel by 50 pixels. Yeah, that is absolutely right. And now if we see, like, these elements are like block level elements, as we know, but we need to change them to an inline or absolute. If you change the position to be absolute, before that we'll also see that this element has even margins around. So basically you can give a margin to be like, I think it is 50 pixels, so we can have margin to be like 50 pixel. And we can give position, before margin we can give position absolute. So what it does is, like, everything is just under the same thing. So here we need to select individual elements. Say we need let's number this box as 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we need the second and the fourth box to shift to the right. So what we can do is, like, either you can use p to the odd p nth of item 2. So basically we are using a pseudo element. We can say right to be 0. Nth item. Nth of type 2. We are saying right 0. So instead of using the pseudo selector, we can also give it a separate ID. Say, like, ID is equal to B, which represents 2. ID is equal to C, which represents third box, and ID is equal to D. So since first box is already in its right position, we need not touch that. So what we can do is, we can say the second and the fourth ID, that is IDB. So you reference ID by using an hash. IDB and IDD are to be on the right, and the third and the fourth element, that is C and D, should be in the bottom. So we can say IDC and IDD to be aligned at the bottom. 0. So I think this is the right thing. Oh, we haven't changed the background color, so let's change the background color of the box. So I think this is perfect. pixel perfect. So if we submit this, the way to reduce the code would be like you can refer the element, so you can put directly P over here, which will refer all the elements. But since we are programming it in a better CSS way, understandable way, and that's why we are doing this. Okay, so we have a 100% match, which is right. So let's come to our third challenge, which is a push button. Here, if we see, like here also there are like how many elements? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 elements, and you can have a body tag. So let's see how we can work with that. So first thing I see is like all the elements are aligned to the center. So what we'll do is like, let's take this out first. Let's have all the elements. Let's have a idea of 50 by 50, and let's give it a border radius of 50%. I miss an R. So border radius of 50%. Height and the width is, so let's take off the margin. So basically we are going to position this to the center. So let's give it top position to be 0. So, or 50%. 50% from the container, and then you have the left to be 50% of the container again, and then we can give a transform translate minus 50% comma minus 50%. This should do the trick of centering all the elements. We have the box. We don't have the P close tag. Have proper P's with closing. Yeah. So let's see what is the error in here. So let's delete this. So one of the P tag is right. Let's copy this P tag again. It is moving down. What if we give this as a star? So basically we are stating like everything, not only the body, but everything has a margin 0. So there was a default margin added to the P tags, so we'll remove that also. So if you see like everything is like centered, let's have individual box. I think it is aligned center properly. So let's have this 4 ID, say ID A. Then let's have an ID B. So ID C, and let's have ID D. Yeah. So ultimately, what we'll be doing is like we'll the topmost element would be the D element, the backside element. So as per the order, it should be A element. So let's start with D element is in the right position, so we need not touch that. So let's start with C element. I think we'll have to work with the height and the width and border radius and the background color. Everything else I think should be okay. So let's start with C element. Let's say width to be 150 pixels by height to be 150 pixels. Background to be Walalu. I think it is aligning fine. So we see that major of these elements have the blue color, so we can have the default to be blue. So we need to try it so many backgrounds color to be blue. And remove this, and we can have hashtag, right? So for D element we can just have background to be the yellow color. Yeah, and then you have the dot and the back circle, and the next circle would be like even bigger than that. So let's have circle B, hashtag B. This should be of like width, I think it is around 300. Let me see if it is right. No, it is too big. I think it is like 250. Yeah, 250 sounds right. 250 pixels and height to be 250 pixels. Yes, and then we have this background color. Oh, and the entire page background is also the same color, so we can have this background color over here. And then let's style the A tag. A tag, I think the width is like 300. 300 pixels. Height. So before the height, I don't see any border radius, so let me put border radius to be 0. And then let's have a height of, I think, 150 pixels. It should sound right. So, and this is the best way to approach this particular problem. You can do from front to back, like you can start coding A, then B, then C, and then D. But since it is stacked on top of each other, it makes sense to visually see the background growing. So this would avoid most of the problem, or else you'll have Z index to work with. So this is 574 characters, but let me submit. I think this should be a 100% match. So did I submit it? Yeah, it is submitted. The score is 601 and it's an 100% match. So let's see our fourth problem, which is push up and down, push buttons. This is what we saw. Then ups and downs is the fourth particular problem. So again, let's start with simple. I think the width of this is also same as like our A element, which is 300 pixels. Visually seeing it, then height I think is also 300 pixels. No, height is 200 pixels. Okay, so let's rewrite this. Now there are like 3 elements, 1, 2 and 3 elements. Yes, so first and foremost we can have this as a full rectangle shape, and then we can have a border on top. So let's work with the box. Again, I'm deleting these ABC stuff. That is just a dot, and let's change the background first. So let's have this, and then the dot color to be, let's work on it. So I think the width of this is like 100 pixels, 150 pixels. No, 100 pixels sounds fine. 100 pixels. Yeah, and the height would be like 200 pixels. 150. No, it's not 50%. It should be like 100 pixels again. No. Yeah, yes, but I think the border radius of top should be 50% and 50%, and the bottom should be 0 and 0. So this is how you get this particular shape. Yes, correct. So now we can have it transform up, or instead of translating it below 50%, we can translate x up. Okay, so let's have there are only three of these, so we can use three of the p tags. We don't need the fourth one. uh, Instead of position absolute, we can say position to be an position absolute, but we can say display to be inline block element. Yeah, so and let's not put position absolute. Let's we can have position absolute, but let's say we just need the A and the B to rotate. Let's have A and C to rotate. So you have transform rotate 180 degree. Spelling mistakes will avoid it. Position absolute. So we have rotated the elements. Let's say transform rotate 180 degree, and then we can have translate on x-axis. We can give absolute value. I think it should be like 50 pixels. Yeah, it's in line. So I think we can translate this on the y-axis by 50 pixels. So let's say 150 pixels is about right. And for C element, instead of 150 pixels, you have minus 50 pixels. Yes, I think this sounds about right. We have to push the B element on top. We can take this out from here since we are doing everything individual. So let's say hash B element. We can transform translate Y to be like minus 50 pixels. No, 50 pixels. Let's say only translate X. Rotation is not required. We just need to push it up. So how do we push it up? How do we push this up by 50 pixels? You can say margin top minus 50 pixels. This should work. This is a trick. So I'm pushing the margin, so by its default margin I'm pushing it up by 50 pixels. So I think this should do the trick, and we can submit this. It should be 100% match. Yeah, so it's an 100% match. So we have done the fourth one also. Now let's go to the fifth one. This should be quite simple. So basically it's a circle with one side border to be like none, and the third element's border would be like it will be rotated to 180 degree, so it's under this. So this should be A element, B element, and C element. Again, let's not translate all of this. Let's achieve this shape first, and before that let's change the background. So we are developing on the code that we wrote earlier, so that would give us an advantage. Let's change the measure of the color is like this, so let's have the default color to be this. I think the size matters, so let's have this 0. Yeah, I think C element is perfect, but the size is different. I think this should be like about 150 pixels. Yeah, 125 pixels. This is too big. 125 pixels sounds about right. Let me see. 25 pixels. It is that size bigger. Probably 120. Yes, 120 is exactly lining up. Okay, so now we have to first let's deal with A. So now let's do it on the opposite side. So A, we can say transform translate. We need an x and y, so let's translate from its position to minus 50%. Okay, so it's pushing it down, so we need to push it up. So plus, that's gone too much, 25%. I think that is where, no, 10%. Ouch, that sounds too far. Like, let's put it in pixel terms, 10 pixels. Now translate x. So let's translate its x position first by 10 pixel. 5 pixels. Okay, so what is it doing is like it is taking the translate property which we have already given here. So let's change only the top and the left property. So top, instead of 50 and left 50, we can have top to be like 20% or 30%. Let's eyeball it out. I think 30% is about right, and you can have the left to be like 80%. No, left to be 20%. No, 80%. It's too far. 60%. 75%. 70%. 60. Let's see if this matches. No. Let's give it a pixel size. So from the left, we want our center to be here. So from the left, this should be about 300 pixels. 300 pixel. I think so. So basically it's Choke it out. Let's not transform and it is transform and translated. Width is the right size. Oh, let's do it with C first. Let's do it in order. So let's come to the C. You can have transform, translate, minus 10%, comma minus 10%. Okay, so if I put 10% plus 10% and plus 10%, it should go up. Minus 100%. Oh, right. And then you have minus 100%. Oh, minus 0%. I think this is in exact place, correct? Okay. So minus 100% and 0%. Then I think then A element should be just the opposite, 0% and the 100%. So transform, translate should be 0% and 100%. Minus 100%. Yes. And since A element is also to be rotated, we'll have rotate 180 degree. Eek. And then we can give the B element to be the background color of the B element should change, so we can have background of this particular color. So this is the way like you can assign. So as again, like once you have one particular property, it makes easy to understand like it is translated properly. Once we submit this, it should be an 100% match. Let's see. So this makes it clear like A is the first element or the most behind element, B is the center and C is the top. One more way of doing this is like by using you can say like before and after class. Before you can translate and after you can translate to this particular stuff. So that should also work. Let's try that coding also. So let's put this as like P before and let's have this like P or hashtag gaze after class, hashtag gaze before. So before and after will work only if you have content in it. So say content to be blank should also help. And the style should also apply for A before and A after. A after is not showing because you don't have the content. So we have this and you can say A before and after's color to be you can have everyone's color to be the same, but you can have A's color to be this particular stuff. Let's change background of this particular. Okay, one more thing is like we are only using A, so we don't need these two p tags. So we can have A before's color to be this and A after's background also to be the same. So here comes an issue with the z indexing. So after we have done this, but there will be an issue with the z index. So a before class you want to keep it on top, and a after class you want to keep it at the back side, and a's background we need this color. So basically we have already given that, so we need not do anything with this. So let's give a z index to it. A before class z index should be like 2. Let's have z index of a after class to be -2. This should technically work, but since we have given a box here, let's put it in a here with an ID of a. A before and after is launching on top, so let's have it as 1, 3, and z index of a alone. Z index to be 2 for a. This should technically work, but before and after class, then this is a kind of issue that you face it. This is proper, so let's remove a after. Yeah, so this is proper. Let's remove the z index from here. A tag, and then you have So there is an issue with this style of before and after, but normally you can use before and after. We'll use that in a different programming context. So let's come back to our previously coded correct answer, not with before and after, but just AB. Yeah. So let's submit this. This is the final code that we have written. So this is also a 100% match. So let's see the next one. Missing slice. So this is also a 3, just a 3 part of a circle. So basically this is a square and you are just cutting off the top and the bottom radius to be like 100%. So let's transform the box again. So here we can work with rotate and then just aligning them. So let's see. Let's change the background first as default. And then let's change the shape of the object. Let's remove this. I think the width and this thing is the same, but 50 no 0 0 100%, yeah, so 100% and 100%, no, yeah, 0 0 100% should make the slice. This is the missing slice actually. So let's change the order. So basically you have 100% 0 0. Yeah, this should be the first one, and then you can just have play with the border radius and it should be shifting. So let's have this piece to be the first piece, or we can align it here. Translate x minus 100%, translate y minus 100%. Adjust the size of the width is higher, so let's have it as 100 by 100. I think this is the size perfectly. Let's change the color to, the color is different for all the three backgrounds, so let's do, now we can transform anything. We can either transform A or you can transform C. So we can do is like, let's keep it this way. So let this be A, let this be B, and let this be C. So for B, let's say transform, rotate 90 degrees, 90 degrees, yeah, rotate minus 90 degrees, yep, translate 0%, minus 100%. Yeah, so this piece can be white. So the background is supposed to be white. And this is perfect. Next element is like C. Transform, rotate minus 90 degree, 90 degree, translate 100% and 0%. Oh, so minus 100%, yes, and 0%. Background, we have the color yellow. We are building on what we already did, so we are just working with the 3P box, which is center aligned with the name box, and we're just styling few of the elements so that we achieve this result. We submit this. This is also an 100% match with 603 score. Basically everything is working out fine. Let's say LeafyTrail. LeafyTrail is a little bit tricky. So let's say this box to be again, let's align this, let's remove B and C, and let's make the shape, let's make this leaf shape. So I think this leaf shape has width of it looks like 50% of the height, so let's have the width of 50 VW, no 50 VH, and the height to be again 50 VH. Yeah, I think this is fine. The border radius seems a bit tricky in here, so I think the border starts from here, so basically this looks like it must be 50 pixel. So instead of giving it in percentage, we can also give pixel values. 50 pixel. Oh, the shape is coming. No, not 50 pixel. Let's have it like 70 pixel. No, 100 pixel. 1000 pixel. Hey, this looks like the shape. Why isn't it arranged in the center? So basically minus 50 and minus 50 is what we need, so now it is in the center. I think the element is perfectly arranged. There's no common color, so let's take this color, the central element color, and let's have the background color proper. Let's add the background color correctly. I think this has taken a decent shape. So now we have to transform the A element and the C element. So basically C element is on the right and yellow, and A element is at the back. So let's take A element, let's say translate, probably only X axis, you can say minus 40%. No, translate on both the axes, let's say minus 50%, 100%, 0, minus 50%. This is translating it. Minus 50% seems to be fine. 25%. Oh no, this is 50% for sure. This I think should be 75%. I think it is. No, it's a bit more. 60%. No, it needs to come here. We can push it. So basically we can push it by 50 pixels, right? So let's say minus 50 pixels. Oh, it's moving it to the right. We can say 100 pixels. $150 pixels. It's way too far away. It should be in some sort of percentage, so let's find the percentage, right? 40%. Maybe pixel is the right value. Let's say minus 25 pixel. Okay. Oh, this seems right for the right hand side. Okay, then the plus side should be like 125 pixel. No, it should be 25 pixel, minus 25 pixel. Okay, minus 25 pixel is good for the C. So let's change this to C element, and let's give it a background of yellow. So we shifted this by minus 25 pixel. So the next thing should be like, it should shift properly. Let's try for A element. A element, you have transform, translate, minus 100 pixel. Okay, the second parameter is like 50%, so y-axis it's 50%. 100 pixels sounds too less. Let's say 25, so I think this should be 125. So 125. Yeah, that sounds about right. So let's have a background, which is this one. Oh, I think this is great. So this should be 100% match. I don't see any difference. Let's submit and see it. Yeah, it is a 100% match with 603 score.